These KC-135 mid-air refueling tankers keep warplanes airborne in the fight against ISIS. Boeing stopped making this plane in 1962. Captain Frank Gillard deployed within hours of the first bombs being dropped in Libya in 2011. He was one of the pilots who refueled those bombers.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Gillard IV. I'm a pilot in the United States Air Force Reserve and for American Airlines. In the United States Air Force Reserve, I fly the KC-135 mid-air refueling airplane. A couple of fast facts about this airplane. The maximum takeoff weight is 322,500 pounds. We can carry up to 200,000 pounds of gas, which is the equivalent of just over 31,000 gallons. With that amount of fuel, we use apparatus in the back of the airplane called a boom. We extend this boom, and there may be pictures down here right there. We extend this boom, which is like a big gas nozzle, to hook up to the gas receptacle on other airplanes. Once we do that, we can pump them full of gas. This act usually occurs between 20 and 30,000 feet, moving at speeds between 300 and 400 miles per hour. Now, some may ask, why do we need mid-air refueling? Well, what mid-air refueling allows us to do is it allows our airplanes to remain airborne longer without having to stop and land for fuel. This is critically important when these airplanes are supporting ground guys on the ground, Army guys, and they're supporting them. They want to be available for them. For example, after September 11th, there's a B-2 bomber that took off from the United States, flew over Europe, got gas over England, got gas over Turkey, went and dropped 2 bombs off in Afghanistan, and returned back getting gas in Turkey, England, and New York City. The total flying time for that mission was well over 34 hours, non-stop flying. That's what mid-air refueling allows us to do. Mid-air refueling is not the only mission that this airplane can do. We can set up the back end to carry cargo, passengers, or set up an in-flight hospital to medevac wounded troops or sick personnel. Since I can't physically be there with you guys, and I can't immediately field your questions, I'd like to share with you guys a few questions that I'm commonly asked when I meet people and tell them that I'm a pilot. The first one is, why did you want to be a pilot? Well, flying was always my childhood dream. It was always what I wanted to do from the time that I can remember. I was fortunate enough that I had a father that was in the military as well, and he exposed me to the aviation field where it bit. We call it the aviation bug. The bug bit me, and I just couldn't control myself. All I wanted to do was fly. Ironically, the first day that I was ever supposed to fly was September 11th. I was a freshman in college pursuing my aviation science degree through the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Needless to say, after I graduated from college, I joined the military. Prior to the military, I've had many jobs. While I was in high school, I was a janitor, cleaning churches and office buildings. I was also a busboy for Outback Steakhouse. While I was in college, I worked for Target, Pepsi, driving a forklift. After college, I worked for Southwest Airlines as a ramp supervisor, the guys that load the bags on the airplane. And then I went down to Richmond International Airport as the airport operations supervisor. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is the fact that anything worth having takes time and it takes hard work to get through. Although I went to college for aviation science, it took me a little while to finally realize my dream of becoming a military pilot and an airline pilot. When I joined the military, I went to pilot training down to Columbus, Mississippi, which was about a year and a half worth of training. I got to fly a couple of different airplanes. After that, I went to Altus, Oklahoma, where I got trained on the KC-135. When I was 29, I got hired by American Airlines and have flown 2 different types of airplanes for them. I am currently a captain on the Airbus A320 for American Airlines. What I love most about flying is I love providing a service to people. In the military, I provide a service to my receivers, as well as the ground guys who who receive support from the airplanes that I support. At the airline, I provide a service to business people, families just like yourself traveling for vacation, and other people that are traveling just to get to sick loved ones. Any given day, I love providing that service for these people. Another beautiful thing about being a pilot is I get paid to see and do things that other people only dream and read about. For example, one time I got to fly to Italy. While in Italy, I got to see the Roman Colosseum, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, plenty of art museums like the Statue of David, and got to eat amazing food in Italy. That's also one of the perks of flying. The other thing is you get to experience different cultures. I'm a richer individual personally for the amount of people that I have met while traveling abroad and experiencing their cultures. And one of the final things I love about flying is just the prestige, the power, and the respect that comes with such a profession. When I talk about the power, each one of these motors put out 22,000 pounds of thrust. That amount of power propels this airplane and accelerates it to speeds as fast as 600 miles per hour. We can get where we're going in a hurry when we're ready. The maximum ceiling on this airplane is 50,000 feet, although the highest that I've been is 43,000 feet. A little bit of science fast fact is once you get higher in the air, our ability to pull oxygen out of the air becomes less. So above 43,000 feet, I'm required to wear an oxygen mask that provides oxygen under pressure so that I don't pass out. So the next question that I get asked is flying hard? Well, it's not easy. But remember what I said, anything worth having, anything worth doing, is not necessarily going to be easy. We all have talents, individual talents, and we all have strengths. I plan on my day-to-day basis when I go fly. I use math, science, history, reading and writing, and physical fitness. For example, a quick math problem is, if I'm flying from LA to DC, how long is that going to take me? Well, this is a very simple math problem. That is distance divided by time. Let's say, for example, LA to DC is 2,000 miles. Let's say that I can travel at 500 miles per hour on average speed. So 2,000 divided by 500, I don't know if I said 5,000, excuse me, but 500 miles per hour is the speed that I'd be traveling by. 2,000 divided by 500 is 4 hours. So to travel the distance between LA to DC, I could say, hey, I can expect that to take me about 4 hours, coast to coast. Science, like I alluded to earlier, is that I have to always be monitoring how my position is being affected by the outside world. For instance, is there a thunderstorm out there? What are the winds doing? How hot is it? How are all of these things going to affect the performance of my airplane? History. A lot of what we do in flying is based on lessons that we have learned or mistakes that we have made in the past. Knowing our history enables us to understand why we do certain things in the airplane. Reading and writing are constant communication skills that I use while flying. While I'm flying, I am constantly speaking with an air traffic controller who is on the ground giving me information about other airplanes in the area and talking and communicating with other crew members. For example, the flight attendants, the ramp agents, the guys who load the airplane, the security agents, and as well as the customers. Physical fitness is very important because another question that I've been asked is, what's the longest flight that I've ever taken? The longest flight I've ever had is 14 hours traveling direct from Turkey back to DC. On a normal day, that flight would probably be about 12 hours, but because it was winter time and we were flying into the wind, our ground speed was slower. That's why it took us longer to get from Turkey to DC. Another question that I'm commonly asked is, have I been to war? And unfortunately, I have been to war. After September 11th, our country was thrust into a war against ideology, or however you want to explain it. But the reality is that we've been at war since September 11th. In my 13 years in the military, I have deployed 7 times, flying combat missions over Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and Libya. Through my flying career, I have amassed over 6,000 flying hours. Here's another math problem for you guys. 6,000 divided by 24, how many days is that in an airplane? And when I say flying hours, that's physically being in an airplane and being in the sky. Those are just a few questions that I commonly get asked, and I am here to tell you that it is 100% worth it. And if you have any questions, please speak with any one of your teachers and they will know how to get in contact with me. If you happen to see me out and about, please feel free to come up and say hello. In the rest of this video, I'll be streaming in some clips from my travels abroad and narrate them to give you a little bit better understanding of exactly what I do. This is me taking off in my KC-135 with my crew from a military air base in Poland. This is a B-52 just after receiving gas from my airplane. This is a picture of me and my mom before my last deployment. She was not happy. This was my crew from my last deployment to Turkey. We flew over 30 combat missions in support of Iraq and Syria. We called ourselves the Soul Patrol. These next two pictures are from Rovaniemi, Finland, the home of Santa Claus on the Arctic Circle. This should look familiar. This aircraft incident happened this week. A United Airlines 777 Denver to Honolulu, Hawaii, lost their number 2 engine. Looks like it caught on fire. Well, we get paid the big bucks, and we train hard and are constantly evaluated to address such issues while airborne to safely recover the airplane. I had the pleasure of meeting original Tuskegee Airman Colonel Charles McGee, and 2 years later, I had the honor of flying General McGee from DC to LA. The Tuskegee Airmen were the first black pilots in the United States entering service during World War II. Once again, guys, thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about my career with you all this morning. If you do have any further questions, please funnel them through your teachers, and I will find a way to get back with you. Have a great day.